Hi, I'm Cameron. This is a special edition where I'm not having an existential crisis about something today. Instead, we're here in my living room, in front of my bookshelf, with all my books, right? Books. The joy of reading. Let's see what we got over here. We got Sigmund Freud, Interpretation of Dreams. We got Vagabond, Volume 7. We got what else do we have here? We got Cow Kakin, Story of the Stone, Heaven's Eye Stone Perspective, Volume 1 of many. We got a lot of books here. We got a lot of books here, right? I'm not getting that shit back on the shelf. We got a lot of books here, right? Look at this diversity of books. We got like some German shit. We got some like Japanese shit because I'm a massive introvert who didn't have any friends growing up. Got like, Chinese shit. I mean, we got like other books that are just literally in Japanese here, right? So, got a decent number of books on this shelf from like a wide variety of different authors from different cultures and different perspectives. And I think engaging with that is important. Some of you astute viewers might know I tried to do a book series at one point to talk about my books, but nobody watched it, and it made me really sad. I think my Crime and Punishment video got maybe like the most views, but I hated that video because I was really uninformed about Dostoevsky. I got filtered is what I'm trying to say here. So what does all this have to do with the title of this video? I was at Barnes & Noble earlier today. I grabbed this. I grabbed this right here by Mr. Virgil. Not that one, the other one. And I'm looking through Barnes & Noble, and I go over to the manga section because I'm like, okay, let's see if we got some like nice doujinshi here, right? Let's see if we got something cool going on right here. And what do I see? I see no manga. I don't see any manga. It's just rows upon rows upon rows of Chinese light novels. I don't know the term for it because I don't know shit about China. I know that Zhuge Liang was like cool and set in front of a gate or some shit. And like Cao Cao won a war or something. I don't know. I don't know shit about China. It's just Chinese light novels with like AI covers. And you open that shit up, it ain't got no pictures. What is it? You're telling me that shit is the same thing as like motherfucking, like this. Look at this. Look at this. He must have been so lonely. Look at that beautiful view. Flip to a random fucking page in my Vagabond book here. It's goddamn art. This is when Kojiro fought those guys on the beach. I'm pretty sure. No, that was when they were in the mountains. It's been a minute, okay? But you got like fine art on any page of this tome of quality right here. Chinese light novel. It's not the same fucking thing as a manga. And I'm looking around a bit. I'm kind of mad, and I'm like, okay, but why are all these like Chinese books in the manga section? Shouldn't they just be like mixed in with the rest of the books? And then I look over here, and then I see Owari Monogatari Volume 3 in the manga section with the O books. Now, first of all, why are the books in alphabetical order by title? Because if you look over at like the front entrance of the Monogatari store, if you look over at the front entrance of the manga section, you got Bake Volume 2 sitting right there at the very front, and you have all of the Monogatari manga sitting on the shelf too. That's all in the B's, right? Owari is all over on the far end of the shelf by itself. Why is Owari 3 the only book that they have all the way at the very end of the shelf? I'm not criticizing their stock or anything like that, but these books are by the same author. Same author wrote both of these books. Why are they on sheer opposite ends of the manga section? These aren't mangas, these are just books. They're barely even light novels, but that's a discussion for a different time. Why are light novels Why is Japanese literature getting just put straight into the manga section? Why is Chinese literature getting put into the manga section? And if anybody bothered to watch this far into the video, you might be like sitting there being like, oh, you're really not going to make the point that Chinese boys love is the same thing as like actual Chinese literature. Because sure enough, my copy of like Story of the Stone Volume 1 wasn't in the manga section. It was in with like the rest of the quote unquote actual book section, the fiction section. But I am going to go ahead and make that point. I think there's just as much value to any like crap boys love crap, I said it in a big parentheses, that you can like find on this shelf that's getting just shoved into the manga section as there is any other book in the goddamn store. So to me, I feel like it's being extremely culturally insensitive to just take any book from Asia that happens to have a vaguely anime cover on it and just throwing it in the fucking manga section. I'm genuinely mad about this shit. Because, like, it's to the point to where the quality of the service happening at Barnes & Noble is getting lowered on account of this, too. A different day. I go up to the store. I got, like, fucking, let's see here. I got, like, Walden, Dorian Gray, Frankenstein, Edgar Allan Poe or some shit because I'm illiterate and I'm uninformed. Right? So I'm buying this shit. I read Walden in college. It was good. But I'm buying this shit. I bring my big stack of garbage up to the counter. And then, you know, the 70-million-year-old lady says, reading the classics I see. And I'm like, yeah, I need to read more, or something like that. I'm like, cool. That's fine. That's great. You know, just being like, you know, that's nice. Acknowledging like, oh, you're reading some good books. I hope you enjoy them. Like a nice, pleasant interaction. Now, on a different day, I go up there and I got like Murakami, Mishima, McCarthy or some shit. And like Yoon or something, right? I'm just reading up my bookshelf at this point. I like my bookshelf, okay? Maybe this is like a check out my cool bookshelf video, but those are like the types of books I'm carrying, right? I go up to the front because I can't find a book I'm looking for. I'm looking for some Korean poetry. You can use context clues to figure out what Korean poet I was looking for. I'll let you figure that out for all of you insightful detectives out there. I'm looking for some Korean poetry. I go up to the front. I'm like, hey, I couldn't find this book I was looking for, like this author. Do you guys have anything by like Yao Gyong-kyung? Whatever his name is. There's absolutely no clues as to who this person was. And they like, how is it spelled? And I'm like, oh, it's spelled like this. Pretty sure. And then they tell me they don't have anything in stock. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Do you have any idea like where I could go to find more like Korean literature or Korean poetry or anything like that? And then the kind, pink-haired fellow or lady looks at me and tells me, you should go check the manga section. They have a lot of cool Korean manga there. Motherfucker, I am carrying a copy of, like, Walden. And, like, I got, like, Murakami and shit. Kafka, like, on the rocks is what I'm gonna need to go order at the bar after this shit. You tell me to look at the fucking manga section for Korean literature. This might not be something that's worth getting mad about, but it pisses me off. I feel like if we're at this point to where we just take anything that's from a different culture and we just slam it all into this vague Japanese term, isn't that being entirely reductive of the individuality within these books? Imagine if, like, you wanted to go find something by Nietzsche or some shit, and it was over in the Bible section. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, oh, well, he talks about God, and it's like, it's not the same thing. You can't say Nietzsche is the same thing as the Quran, or as the Bible, or as, like, the Dead Sea Scrolls or some shit. And why is it all in alphabetical order? I went over to the poetry section, it was all in alphabetical order. I couldn't find what I was looking for because shit was just mixed in. You got 8 different copies of the Iliad, like, strewn across the entire thing. And I was like, well, maybe it's, like, alphabetical order, last name by the translator. It wasn't! We got, like, Z's and the B's and the C's and the W's all, like, mixed in and shit. If you're gonna go out of your way, right? If you're gonna go out of your way to have, like, Chinese boys love, be at the front and center. It's like, boom, here it is. This is important. You should read this. Don't be ignorant. But you're still going to be fucking ignorant enough to just put it in the same broad category as, like, Japanese stuff? Isn't that being reductive to, like, where's all the Japanese boys love? Where's all, like, the Japanese boys love doujinshi? Put that shit right in the center. When I was in Japan, the bookstore had that shit at the very front of the store. That's right. It doesn't matter if it's, like, no, what's it fucking called? What was it called? It doesn't matter if it's, like, fucking Punishment Girls Volume 7 or, like, Fatal Pulse is right there at the front. They got that shit right there front and center. And, like, they have, like, the artist's contact information and, like, their Pixiv info and everything right there at the front. And to me, it's like, isn't that awesome? We got, like, all these unique artists coming out, putting their shit, like, right on the front shelf, and like, hey, this was done by, like, an independent artist. You should check this out. I go to fucking Barnes & Noble, and I got somebody who's getting paid $12 an hour writing a description about how it's like, Scott Pilgrim is about how men are abusive. And it's like, read the fucking book. Fucking idiot. Or it's like you got, like, mystery books of, like, ooh, what's this gonna be? And it's like, oh, a drama-driven story about a young woman driven by a violent past. And it's like, that could be describing, like, any fucking book about any woman ever. If you're gonna have, like, a banned book section, if you're gonna have, like, a diverse voices section, how about we, like, give some respect equally? If you want to, like, advertise female authors, don't fucking put their shit mixed in the wrong location. If you want to advertise LGBTQ shit, maybe you should put it in the proper location instead of just mixing it in with everything else, because all that does is make people more ignorant about the situation. Somebody's gonna walk in that section, go to the manga section, looking for fucking Naruto or some shit, and they're gonna see, like, Young Quing and the Story of the Stolen Tassel or some shit, and it's two, like, buff, bara-looking dudes with the pretty effeminate features and the long flowing hair, because you know it's really accurate. It's like one of those K-dramas where the boys are really pretty, even though it's based off of some guy who, like, died when he was 30 because he had malaria and his body aged 500 years ahead of time. And you're not going to give it the proper respect that it deserves? I hate this shit, because all it does is it just forces people to look at specifically what they want to be presented, instead of offering this material to people for them to be able to arrive at their own conclusions about it. I think every book in that store should be given the proper credit that's deserved. I think every book should be treated fairly and should be placed equally. There's no reason that Mishima should be in the real fiction section, but, like, Monogatari-shun, which just means story in Japanese. So Monogatari series. I'm sorry. You go to a Japanese manga section and you can find, like, 3,000 artists on, like, nothing but unique artists on that shelf. And I go to Barnes & Noble and, like, why is it nothing but Chinese and, like, Chinese shit on the shelf? Why is there no manhwa section then? Why is there no, I don't know how to say, Chinese graphic novel? I'm sorry, I don't know the term for that. But I feel like by putting things into a certain category that's not an accurate description of it, all we're doing is just isolating the people who already enjoy that and are passionate about it, and we're letting people be more misinformed about what they're getting into. If I go to the manga section and I find something, you know, if I find something like Monogatari in the manga section, and it's not the Monogatari manga, that, to me, that implies a certain lack of quality, to put it bluntly. Because in the manga section, right next to Monogatari, which is just an actual fucking book, I love this series a lot, by the way. I think it's genuinely really something special. If you put in that right next to That Time I Got Turned Into a Bidet in a Western dungeon full of anime girls, people are gonna think it's just pornographic. And then, on the other side of that, you got volumes of Dress Up Darling, locked up, wrapped up, 18 plus only. But then you got Junji Ito drawing women getting ripped in half completely naked right next to that, and that's open to bear. Who are they to put a judgment call on that type of thing? Why is extreme violence considered to be horrible? We gotta protect the kids. My bad. Not like that. We like that's fine. I can just open up a Junji Ito art book right there in the store, full page spread of somebody getting split in half, and it's a naked lady. But then a manga about a girl who really likes wearing pretty outfits is like weird. This is weirdo porno stuff. We're gonna put it right next to the copy of the Monster Girl manual that we also have locked up for some reason. Although they didn't even have that one locked up either. I opened up the big Monster Girl manual tome right there in Barnes & Noble, and we got like full frontal and shit, right? That's not locked up, but for some reason, this really fantastic series about coming of age and like, you know, realizing that everybody struggles with problems in their own way, and just because you have hobbies that are a little different from other people doesn't make you weird. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. That's considered to be like horrible, immoral shit. We got fucking copies of It front and center, like Pride Voices, and I'm like, if we just keep like attributing these stupid titles to books instead of just letting them speak for themselves, I think we just ultimately end up having a more uninformed populace. I wouldn't be surprised if people watch this video and get like halfway through it and get pissed at me saying something mid-sentence and go like, typical, you wouldn't get it just because of the way I look or something. Anyways, I know this is a lot different from my normal videos where I usually just say, I'm sad because my life is going well and I don't know how to deal with that. I hate everybody. I hate my job. My mom made me fucking make breakfast. Left 2 pieces of toast in the toaster, stupid bitch. I complain about stuff a lot, but this is something, you can ignore every other video I've ever made where I just like talk about how horrible my life is and I'm just struggling to find some meaning or something. This is the type of shit that I really genuinely care about. This is the type of shit where I would get into fights with people on campus over it. Perfect example before I end this video. British literature. We're reading Beowulf. It's hella tight. He's got a shield. Like Captain America. It's pretty badass, right? For all you kids out there, it's like Captain America. This fat fuck is sitting in the front row, and like the professor says something like, you know, how would people look at this story contemporary? Like how would this be viewed in this context? This fat fuck opens his mouth, pushes up his thick-rimmed glasses, and wipes the Starbucks out of his beard, and he's like, well, this book is really, you know, sexist because the only woman featured is evil. And I didn't even bother raising my hand. I was just like, you know, it's really, because he said like she's evil and she's this horrible monster. I don't even raise my hand. I just go, it's really interesting that you say that, given the fact that there's no physical description of Grendel's mother in the book at any point. And if anything, I don't feel like there's any antagonistic language directed towards her. She's just a mother who's upset that her son got murdered. And that's the gist of it. I feel like any violent depiction of this character is only construed from the way that you want to read the book. I didn't say because you want to get offended, but that's how I felt about it, right? And then I essentially said something to that extent. The professor basically just went like, yeah, that's right. Like, there's not really any, like, he's right. Who reads a book looking to get angry? I read a book looking to learn something about myself, to learn something about the world, to gain a little bit more knowledge about maybe why things aren't as bad as they could seem. I read Crime and Punishment, and I hated it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized what it was really trying to say. And I realized that maybe the reason I disliked it so much is because I saw so much of myself in the main character. And I felt so familiar with that setting that it was difficult to read somebody go on and on and on and on about that, because to me it felt like commonplace. The same thing happened when I read Wuthering Heights. I'm not gonna lie, whenever Kathy would like speak up to complain about like, well, this is why I can't tell Heathcliff that I love him, you see, it's not my fault. I got so frustrated reading through that shit too. The whole time I was like, you just gotta let it go, Heathcliff. But I can't let shit go. I'm here complaining because somebody told me to look in the wrong section for a book that I wanted to read. This is me sitting in my living room by myself complaining because somebody was misinformed about my book recommendations. So if I get upset about something, it's because I see that in myself. The only reason people get upset about anything is because they see some of that in themselves. I said that to people before and they get mad because they're like, well, I'm not a racist. Why would I get mad at racists? I'm not racist. It's less so about being that type of person, being concerned that you're capable of that type of thing. Now, obviously, I don't think something that was just, you know, thrown offhand and good old Damien over here necessarily is the truth or anything, and that was kind of the point that even Demian didn't know what he was talking about. But the point I'm making here is that there's value in these words, equal value across all literature, except Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison could go fuck herself. Her stupid shitty Guru fetishization book and her inflation with the breast milk spilling all over the place and shit. Fuck that book. I mean that shit. Fuck that book. You want to read like some real shit? Go read about like, what was the guy's name again? Frederick Douglass, whatever his name is, or like Dred Scott. That one guy who like stole the boat. That guy was tight. Bro, fucking Harriet Tubman getting her head smashed with a weight. That's some real shit, you know? They were like on the Underground Railroad and shit. That's some real shit. Harriet Tubman didn't write about her like weird, I'm gonna feed my dead mom corpse cake until her titties get big and I kill my kids. Fuck you, Toni Morrison! That's the moral of this story. We should ban books.